Okay. Well, there you go.
Well,
Let
live
me turn
on
the camera
yours, I
around.
think. Not on mine. I don't know where I am.
Yeah. I accepted your invite though, so actually it says live on my end. So I don't know if that's true for you too, but
Yeah, I sent you one, and now we're kind of like, I'm going to close that and see if
yeah.
I can. Yeah, close all
I
the
turned.
windows here.
Yeah. I flipped the camera on. Sorry about being late. Hal,
For real.
I had I had issues this morning paying bills. It's one thing if we live in another country, then paying bills is not always as straightforward as it is like when you're in the U.S. Especially there's one in particular, the electric bill is just a pain in the ass because you cannot pay it online. All our other bills we basically are able to pay online now, but the electric, it's run by Mexico, by the country, and so you can't pay it online, and you can't pay it with a U.S. credit card. You can only pay it with a Mexican credit card or cash, or you have to go to one of these special machines, one of these special machines they have around the country. And there was something wrong with the machines, and the bill was due, and they're hard asses about these bills. If you don't pay them on time, like your power gets cut off like quickly. So we were late on paying the bill. Couldn't find a machine that worked, so I was running around all morning trying to get the damn thing. I had to pay cash at the machine, which was it was a big nightmare. Anyway, it's finally taken care of. But one of the frustrations of living as an expat, just one of many. But it's not all bed of roses, I guess. That's for sure. Anyhow,
Penny Saka joined us, by
how's
the
your
way.
day?
This one,
How's your day going?
it's going good right now. I mean, I've done Origin with, I talked about AI and all kinds of other
Ah,
stuff, like being kind to each other and try and be good ancestors to the generation coming up.
all that hippie stuff, all that hippie stuff you like to talk about all the time.
All that
Yeah, I
hippie
guess.
shit. Yeah, all that hippie shit I like to talk about for sure. And you're running up to the Tijuana border. For anybody who's watching, I want to let them
I
know
am.
what's going on here. And we're going to head to the United States. So how close are you?
That's correct. Yep. So right now I'm probably about 10 miles or so, if that even. I got to pay the toll here. Hold on
Not
one
paid
sec.
for. Yeah.
Wait, see.
Por favor. I love it. We're watching the traffic going through that toll gate. You got to get some change. All right.
Yeah, got my change. I'm good. So I'm supposed to have on my other car. They do have like an e-pass thing here. It's not quite as sophisticated as the U.S. It's kind of primitive, but it does work. But the problem is it's only good for a year. Like each time the pass on this car expire, and it's a really difficult process to get the damn thing renewed and to get it originally. It's super complicated. Like everything, like many things here in Mexico, it's all kinds of paperwork involved, bazillion different things you got to do, and it's all got to be perfectly organized and in the right order and format and all this other stuff. So it's not as easy as just go down to the office and get the thing renewed. So I've been working on trying to get this thing renewed for probably a month and a half now, and yeah, we're pretty close. But anyway, so now I have to pay the toll every time we go through the toll, which really sucks.
And
It's not
now
very
we
much,
know,
but it's just irritating.
and now we know that the road noise we're hearing now will be cleaned up automatically
I know,
after
isn't that nice?
wind
That is
noise.
really nice. Very nice.
What's that?
I said that's very nice, man. That is a really nice feature.
Yeah, it is a great feature. So even though we don't have a lot of crowd joining us here yet, I didn't look like. I do think it's really interesting to be able to talk to people at distance and share some ideas of what's going on. So
Yeah, so yeah, Tijuana. Tijuana right now is a still a nervous, let's say it's in a tense state. The weekend right now, everyone's looking for this weekend here because this is the first weekend after the big incident with El Mencho. And it takes time for people to disseminate. So, the incident happened on the mainland, right? And so people that are down there, and so a lot of the violence, the disruptive stuff has happened down there, around the area where the
yeah,
killing happened, um,
right.
mainland Mexico, and in the southern, and also down now in Cancun, some of the touristy areas there. But nothing, there haven't really been many repercussions here in Tijuana yet. But everyone's thinking that this weekend could be bad,
Well, you broke
just
up
giving
on.
people time to fly up here potentially. So yeah, we will break up a bit here. I'm driving right next to the border, so hopefully the signal stays okay. But anyways, so people have now had time to make it back up here, so they're worried that this weekend could be an uptick. Or there could be some violence, or who knows. We'll have to see. But so far, been we've been lucky, I'm hopeful that things will stay calm. We'll see. I guess we'll see. But I got to get to the U.S. today. I didn't want to go. I kind of have to, and I got to get back before dark for sure because it's not that safe on the roads at dark right now. It's safe, but it's just that you're going to be there's extra attention, so you may get pulled over, and it's always a hassle. It's a little bit frightening. Always deal with the police and such here, so I'd rather avoid that if possible. So I'm trying to get done, get up to the U.S. and get back quickly.
Yeah. So what's happening in the U.S.? What's taking you there?
I got to pick up my mail, and I have a
Oh,
one couple items in particular that I have to have before the weekend. So yeah, I can't. The other one of the irritating things about this part of Mexico, there is no mail service. There's no official mail service. Now, that's not true in most of Mexico. That's only in the Baja Peninsula here, which is sort of backwards. I used to tell people it's like the Mississippi of Mexico. It gets no resources from the federal government. They're trying to ignore it, except for this giant. You see this new highway system here. You can see this. They finally completed this, and I'll get to ride on it with me. At least the first section of it,
yep.
and it's actually really quite nice. It saves a good chunk of time on my trip. Not quite as much as it will when it's eventually totally complete, but yeah, we'll get to go on it today, which is quite nice.
Are we going to
This is
see
really an engineering
the
marvel.
entrance? Yeah, there's the entrance. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
Where
for
do you see
Mexico,
the
this is a big
border wall?
deal. Well, let's say for this part of Mexico, this is a big deal. I mean, these kind of roads, these super highway projects are not real common here, but this is a really nice thing. It's really helped the commute, and it's going to get even better when it's complete. But yeah, as you can see, it's very nice, elevated. It's got a nice view. You can see that's the border wall, the big brown, ugly, rusty thing there. That's the border wall there. Say, keep out.
Can't quite make it out.
You can't quite make it out. You'll see. We'll get closer. You see that? And just keep looking straight ahead. You see that big brown, ugly, rusting hulk there. That is
Okay.
the border wall. And there's actually two border walls, but that's the second section there.
I
So
see.
you
Let's
can see
see.
it. I'm running up the hill. Yeah, so that's the border wall. So we're literally right next to the border wall.
At times
And
you're
now we're
over
going.
the border wall, right?
Yeah, we're going through this tunnel here, so I might lose you here. I'm thinking cell reception, so bear with me.
It's
Too.
good. I'll hang it. I'll hang, and if you drop out, I'll just keep on talking.
This is a
And
nice tunnel. I mean, look out! It looks like a European tunnel. I thought the European tunnel feels really big, spacious.
yeah,
Did
it
a
is
nice
a
job.
spacious one. It reminds me of
Say,
some of these European Swiss tunnels. Yeah, very
yeah,
nice.
exactly right. Exactly. I think they use the same model.
And we're losing you. It definitely froze. But we'll hang it out here, and the everyday junglist will be
Yeah,
back.
out here soon.
Yeah, he's coming out soon. There we go. We see daylight, and we can hear you again. Lost you for just a second. I was
All right,
beginning
I'm
to
back.
introduce you again as the everyday
Take a nice view
junglist.
here too. Coming out of the tunnel, you can see down here to your right that's the city of Tijuana.
The city of Tijuana. The camera's gone
Or
off.
hope it comes back. There you go.
Now it's back on.
So
Yeah.
that's Tijuana to your right. I was saying, and then the U.S. is to your left, your immediate left, and the border wall. You can't quite see it from here. We're actually over the border wall, basically. It's directly to the left of us and below us,
Yep. It's lovely. We got Heidi
and you can
Blake.
see. I mean, this is really nice. It's rarely a traffic here. Quite nice
Yeah, it's a nice smooth
and
road
free for now.
and free for
No
now.
toll.
No toll.
Yes, we'll
Great.
see. They claim it's never going to have a toll. I find that hard to believe. But we'll see. It's a lot like the U.S. here in Mexico in many ways. The government wants to get money. They're not as good at collecting taxes as the U.S. is yet. They're getting better at it, but so they'll take money wherever they can get it. And in other parts of Mexico, actually, the cartels control the toll roads, and they take that money basically for themselves. And well, they also provide some forms of government, some security,
Yeah, that's
but it can
interesting.
be quite irritating. Yeah.
Yeah, the cartel's providing government. That's interesting. It's
It's
kinda like
essentially, yes,
Vietnam.
they're the de facto government. Yeah, de facto government. And I've written about this a lot too. And it's like you don't pay taxes in this case. Taxes are paid by the U.S. U.S. drug dealer, U.S. drug users specifically are paying the taxes to build those roads in Mexico, which I find quite interesting. But anyway,
Dale Hammond one time was, doing a stand-up show in which he said, I used to go drink at this big bar called Mexico."
Daryl Hammond, is he still around? Did he die? Is he still around?
He's still around, actually. He's, sober now, and he's trying to, help people through that cracked up movie that I tout sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have backed that because I thought it was a really good idea to back this director who was doing the Wavy Gravy movie, and then it turned
okay.
out cracked up was their next thing, and they got trauma-informed care introduced into legislation through, using that film.
So who did this Wavy Gravy? This is sort of hippie guy, right? Wavy Gravy. I've heard the name.
Yeah, his name
What did he
is
do or what he?
well, he's kind of famous. He's almost 90 years old. I've got right here the film, Saint Misbehavin', the Wavy Gravy story, Saint Misbehavin'. And that's him right there.
Okay.
And
So what? What did he do?
his original name was Hugh Romney, and he was with Martha Graham in Boston. And then when she moved to Greenwich
Wait,
Village,
he's not. Is he related to Mitt Romney? He's not related to Mitt Romney, is
I
he?
don't believe
They're also
so.
from Boston.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
And in
All
fact,
right.
I'm 99.9% sure there's no relation. Now,
Okay.
the deal is, though, that when he was a stand-up comic, basically doing his tongue dancing poetry, he ended up working with Lenny Bruce, and Lenny took him out to California,
Okay.
and he got out there, and he ended up running into his future wife, who was also the girl from the North
Okay.
Country that Bob Dylan talked about. Bob had been his roommate back in Greenwich Village. Small world shit, right? So he
Okay.
calls it kitchen
Yeah.
synchronicity. Anyway, Hugh Romney then
Okay.
later formed a commune that he still lives with called the Hog Farm. It's the longest running commune out,
Okay.
so hippy dippy stuff, right? Okay,
In,
so
in
they get
California. It's in
hired,
California. I think it's in California somewhere. San Francisco.
and
Where's this at? The Bay Area somewhere?
they get hired to be the security at Woodstock. So Wavy Gravy is the guy at the time is still
That's your security. I
as a
love
s and yeah,
it. I love it.
he was asked, so they made us the cops. Well, anyway, he called them the please force, like, "Please don't do this, please do this instead." And, you know,
Yes.
and then their password was, "I forgot." So, the other right? It's got deep
Love it. This is
humor
great.
in it. Yeah,
Hey, I
anyhow,
like
so he's getting up there on the microphone when all the hippies are immersed in mud from the rains at Woodstock, and he
yeah.
says, "What we have in
Right.
mind is breakfast in bed for 400,000. Stay where you are so they don't get up and churn up the mud, and they'll bring food to
Uh-huh.
you." So they brought them granola in cups and Dixie cups.
Of
My friend Lisa
course.
Law,
I mean,
this
was he the guy that did the brown acid? Watch out for the brown acid or whatever. Was
no,
that
that
him?
was
Was that him
Chipmunk.
that was making that acid?
No,
Oh,
that was
oh,
Chipmunk.
all right, Chipmunk.
Chipmunk did
All
that.
right,
He was the one with the brown acid.
Chipmunk.
A lot of people confuse
I
that.
got
Anyway,
you.
so
I see.
at the Texas Pop Festival after Woodstock, BB King was coming on to play for free. They were making a special
Uh-huh.
thing for BB King to come on stage, and Wavy had
Uh-huh.
gotten really exhausted, or Hugh as he was known at that time, and it was laying on the
Uh-huh.
stage and from trying to get the hippies to put their clothes back on. And, anyway, so he's laying on the stage exhausted from his work and purity there at the Texas Pop Festival. BB King comes by, looks down at him and says, "You, Wavy Gravy?" And he says, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, Wavy Gravy, I can work around you." And that's where he got the name. He decided
That's
that's a
outstanding.
clown name.
That's outstanding BB King impersonation there, Hal. I think you missed your calling
Yeah,
as a BB
BB
King
King.
impersonator.
Yeah, sure. So, BB King is from the hometown of my old, grand sponsor in
All right. So I got way too much information of Wavy Gravy than I ever wanted. So he was not
well,
famous
there's
for any real
more.
reason other
There's a lot more. He then
than
took a caravan across Europe,
okay.
England, try to
In
feed
Europe. Okay, he went to Europe.
the people in Bangladesh, right?
But that's not Europe. Well, how does that what's that have to do with
Well,
Europe?
they were driving from Europe to go to there, right? They got some
I see.
buses, happy buses, and they're gonna drive
Okay.
across Kathmandu and through the Kabul Pass, I don't know what, Khyber Pass. And anyway,
Okay.
they don't make it, but they go up into Nepal.
Ah, surprise.
That's where they got Seva from, and I'm wearing my Seva T-shirt. You can't really see it, but anyway. And I've talked to you
Okay,
about
what is that?
before. Seva is a
Okay.
Sanskrit word for service, and what they
I
do
see.
is they restore sight to the needlessly blind. They've so far restored the sight of over 5 million people who otherwise would be blind with
Oh, wow.
simple, cheap
Okay.
operations. So it's a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
Wavy's a saint,
Well,
basically is a saint.
okay.
And he is the one
Interesting.
who's responsible for Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, well, Graham Nash in particular, writing the song Chicago. Your brother's gagged, tied and gagged, and they've chained him to a chair. Won't you please come
Uh-huh.
to Chicago just to sing? So that was Wavy
Okay.
calling Graham Nash saying, "Hey, this Chicago 7 is going through all this shit. You gotta come out here and sing to protest it." And the refrain in Chicago is we can change the world. Well, that's what I'm trying
I
to
see.
do. I'm trying to change the world for the better. You're trying to
Well,
change
you're
the
succeeding, Hal. In my book, you're succeeding. You're succeeding wildly. The world is way better since you became on Substack, and since but at least since you invited me on the show, it's gotten way
Yes,
better.
exactly. It's you who really make it happen through the phage work you're doing.
Oh yeah,
Let's get back to our
yeah, right.
phages.
Yeah, sure.
We've been in wavy gravy land. Let's go back to phages. How's the company doing?
Phases, man. I'm phased out. I'm phased out at the moment, Hal. I gotta tell you, I just right now I need a break.
Say it's not
I'm over
true.
phased. They've got lots of stuff going on that front, and I just can't talk a whole lot about much
You
of it,
know, you
unfortunately,
can't.
at the moment. So when I can, I will. And I think what I can say is I'm working on lots of different things, and I'm really excited about it. I've talked about it a million ad nauseum, all the potential opportunities here, and I think they're huge. I know they're huge, and I'm looking forward to being able to say more about it. But right now, it's not much I could say other than I'm working on it. I'm trying to work on it. Although I'm trying to get
It's science
cooperation
now,
from people that
right?
aren't being as cooperative. It's
Yeah.
just hard, man. It's trying to run a business or start a business or whatever you want to call it. It's
Right.
you have these big companies, and worked in the big companies, so I know exactly what their mentality is. They're like, well, what do I get from this kind of thing? What do I get out of it? Why should I help you with this? Why should I do this? It's like you got to convince them that it's worth their effort, and it's not a lot of effort I'm asking for, really, almost none. But I have to convince them of this, and it's like, and they move real slow. You get these big companies that they're run by lawyers. That's at some point they're like government. They get taken over by lawyers. So every decision takes 10,000 people to make it. Nobody wants to make the wrong decision because then they get held into account and then they get it's their fault or whatever. So nobody wants to make the final decision. So it's like nobody can be a decision maker, and then the wrong person ends up being a decision maker. A lot like government, and so you get shitty decisions made all the time. I don't know why that happens, but in big organizations, it seems like it always does. And I've been in there in these organizations, so I know. And I tell the people while I'm in the organization, this is what's happening, and they still don't do it. They still keep doing it. So you could be inside an organization like that, and you could be screaming at the top of your lungs, "This is what you're doing," and it's stupid, and you can't stop it. It's just like institutional momentum or whatever you want to call it. It's so difficult to make that stop, and I
Yeah.
don't know why. I really
Yeah.
don't.
It
It's
is
just it's
difficult to
crazy.
make it up. No doubt. It's primate. It's humans in the loop.
And lawyers really is what it is. And I
Lawyers.
understand. I like lawyers.
We're
Lawyers are
talking
lawyers.
about
They do
that.
what lawyers do. You need them for different things, but they slow things down incredibly, and they overcomplicate the shit out of everything. I mean, God, and everybody in the U.S. at least, everyone is so liability, so afraid of getting sued for any damn thing they do. So nobody wants to do anything, especially on the medical front. I mean, everybody who's listening in the U.S. knows this.
You
You go to the
know,
doctor, they're not going to tell you. They don't want to tell you anything because if because and you go try to go to the vet, they don't want to tell you anything. I mean, nobody wants to tell you anything because if they tell you something that is wrong, they're liable, and then they get sued, and then they're fucked. So it's like you're kind of screwed in that system because you can't ever get any information. So then you go to the internet, try to get information. Of course, the internet, all the information is wrong, or it sounds very authoritative. It's coming from people like me. But half of them don't, and so it's like, and you don't know how to tell. That's the other challenge. They say, "Oh, I'm going to use AI to do it." Well, AI has the exact same problem. It doesn't know how to tell either. It just takes information and distills it for you.
sort of. And sometimes it goes the wrong thing to try to please you. So let's think about lawyers.
Yeah.
I was talking about earlier the Warren's coupons calling lawyers guns and money. We've got to listen to that. But you know what Shakespeare said? You know,
I
I
don't.
don't know what play it was in, but it was Shakespeare told
He said
you
many things. Shakespeare said
first,
many things.
first we kill all the lawyers.
Yeah, that's right.
That was
That's
the
right. I forgot
first
about
thing.
that. That was Shakespeare. That was Shakespeare, huh?
Yeah, and that's going pretty
Oh, yeah.
far back. We're 1600s then at best, 1500s, 1600s. And, if it's
Yeah.
been that way that long, are you and I going to change it? It's about
I
time.
mean, I'm not. So, yeah, right. So just to update you on what I'm doing here. So that was the line. That's the line to the U.S. that I just passed, and I'm going around here now because I couldn't actually turn there, and so I'm doing this big traffic circle thing to turn around to go back to get to the back of the line. And that's the whole strategy. That's the whole thing about the line to the border is you have to get to the back of the line, and you can't cut into the line. And so to get to the back of the line, sometimes you got to go way, way deep into Tijuana, like way far back. This is hard. This is nothing here. This is like a slow day. But and you'll be driving, you end up way back, and you don't know where the heck you are because the back of the
And then
line
you
is
got
so
to,
far away.
and we got to cut when get in line, right?
Once I get to I've got a long ways to go. Hell, don't worry.
Okay, I don't know how long we got.
I'm not even.
And we
I'm
got
just about.
Lee
I'm
here,
only.
we got Heidi Blake here, we got Paul K, we got Isaka. I don't know how many of them are still watching us because we're pretty chaotic.
As usual. It's just my it's just basically my life. So it's an interesting thing about. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't talk about my cats very much or our cats. We have a cattery, and we have one cat that got very sick recently.
that's
So
right.
he's one of our show cats. He got actually feline coronavirus.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
feline coronavirus is really, really, really bad. I mean, like 90% of cats that get this die basically. But there is a treatment. There's actually two treatments, but there's one that's called remdesivir. It was a COVID
I
drug for
see that.
humans.
Yeah.
Okay, but it stopped working in people after about I don't know, a year or so into the pandemic because of the mutations in the virus. Everyone stopped working, maybe not completely, but mostly. So they basically stopped using it. However, it turns out the company that made it, they sunk a shit ton of money in developing this drug, right? And then it stopped working. And they made like nothing. They killed on it. They lost all this money. So,
No,
but it turns out that for feline coronavirus, this thing works like gangbusters. I mean, it's like a miracle cure.
good.
But you can't get it, right? Because they stopped making it because there was no demand, or at least they thought there was no demand for it because they couldn't use it in people. So what happened
Oh,
was but they have a stockpile of it. Okay, so there's a shit ton of this drug around in these bottles. There's a black market basically that's formed of people selling remdesivir for cats that have feline coronavirus that are basically out on their deathbed. So we had to figure. So we found out there's like cells around the world. There's this whole network of people globally that are distributing this drug for cats because the company is no longer making it or supporting it for people, right? And
oh,
so it's
that's
off
excellent.
label. So not been approved for use of cats. There's no approvals. There's no official. So it's all underground. Like it's basically I don't want to say it's illegal, but it's basically not approved for this use. But it's highly effective, and even vets know that, and so vets are willing to use it at least outside of the U.S. I don't know what they're doing in the U.S. I think they are doing it in the U.S. as well, but sure it's more difficult there, but here at least we were able to source some in San Diego, like bought it off the street, like it's like a street corner truck deal for remdesivir. It's actually called GS. It's not remdesivir. It's an active metabolite of remdesivir. GS is 45, 24, 45, 15, 11, I think is the number. I don't know. It's some weird name. Anyways, it's a drug that actually my wife worked on, or she worked on parts of it. In any event, that's why she was aware of it. But
Mhm.
this whole network, it was just weird to find this whole network of people. And there's thousands, tens of thousands probably that are in this network
Right.
and they support each other by providing whenever someone needs it. They have a stockpile, like they'll buy extra, like we bought some extra. So if someone needs extra, in the future you can provide it to them. So it's sort of like your vision of the hippie kind of do it, pass along to your neighbor kind of thing. For this drug that doesn't work in people really, but works great in cats. And it saved our cat's life actually because Loki was going to die. I mean, he was in really really bad shape. We took him to the emergency vet, and without this drug, and there's no doubt in my mind he would not be here. And he's recovering, and he should be fully recovered. We think in a week or two. So it's pretty amazing to see. Sometimes these weird things happen like that. And the company actually patented actually did not patent this drug, and or they did. I can't remember what the deal is, but they're refusing to license it, so no one else can make it right now. And
Oh,
so they're just sitting on the shelf. And I don't know what their reasoning is, why because they know this cat market exists, or at least they have to know this. I would think they would know it by now, but they're not. They're refusing to license it to anybody else to make it. So I don't know why exactly. I don't know the politics behind that or what their decision making is. But yeah, this is the only stuff that exists is the stockpiles that they have currently, which apparently is a shit ton of still.
yeah, they had
And
that in
I guess yeah, it's out there
combination
still.
for humans, they had that in combination with another drug, if I'm not mistaken, that made it
Yeah.
metabolize more
Yep.
slowly. It didn't break down right
Yep.
away,
Yep.
and that was what I
Yep.
took, actually, when I had COVID.
Yep.
So, then I may what happens if I get COVID now? I can't get that anymore?
No,
That's
you can. You can. So there's better drugs though. There's a better one. There's actually a better one. I can't remember the name of it. The one they're using now.
okay.
And I think
If
my
we
wife did say they are still using remdesivir in emergency rooms because it's the only COVID drug that can be administered by IV, I believe. And
Oh,
so they are still using it, although the effectiveness of it is not clear. Really
okay.
how effective it is, especially on the
That's
newer
when they
strains.
make
So I
the
don't know.
infusion, huh?
Yes, correct. So
My wife
that's
had
the
that
story there, I
done
think.
because she is very susceptible, and she had infusion done at Georgetown. Okay. So
Ah,
that's interesting. And the cat's fine and now getting better.
yeah.
And, the
Yep.
other
Yep.
cats didn't get it. Did you quarantine your cat?
We did. We had to. It's a highly contagious, but
Right.
only
Yeah.
like fecal oral route. So it's not airborne in that sense. So you need direct contact. But cats, they lick each other, that sort of thing. So yeah, we had to isolate. We had to quarantine, the one cat, and then we quarantined all the cats. And Yeah, we were able to limit its spread, so no one else actually got it, which was really great because we have
You have
14
a
cats
lot
in the
of
house.
cats, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And so it's easy for that's this kind of situation where again a reason
It's
not to have a lot of
showtime,
cats.
you said, showtime.
As I tell people, as I always tell people, do not think you want to have a lot of cats. It sounds great, but it's very very difficult to do it right. And very expensive, and you need a lot of space. And you got to be. And when something like this happens, you got to take extra care and
Yep,
really know what you're doing to prevent the spread. Because you can either the colony can be decimated very quickly in an indoor situation with cats. So you have to be exactly know what you're doing. But
the
most people
show
don't, unfortunately.
you said, the show cat, right?
These are show cats, yeah. Well, not all. So we also have some street cats. We have a mix of cats we've adopted from the streets and show cats, but we breed these show cats, the Oriental short hairs.
Oriental
Yeah,
show
we have
cat,
Oriental short hairs. Yeah, so you can look them up online. They're pretty cute. They're kind of some are kind of weird looking. They're not the hairless things, the stinks, which I think are just abhorrent to me. And genetically, so they're really there's problems with them. They really shouldn't be allowed as a breed, in my opinion. But that's a
yeah,
whole this
yeah, I
whole the
mean,
breeding genetics is weird. It's
I was
there's a ton of
talking
problems.
already about dog breeding and how some dogs are bred with these really big eyes that
Yeah,
dislocate, the
yeah.
eye will pop out when the dog gets excited. That
The
was
thing is yeah. Health has got to be the number one. If you're breeding for anything other than that, if health is impacted by any trait, the trait does not go. I mean, period. That's
yeah,
our policy.
hip dysplasia and
The
German
main
Shepherd.
trait, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the main trait that you're looking for is health, always.
yeah,
Everything else is secondary. Appearance, those sorts of things. People like that stuff.
yeah.
That's what the people that show, they're the standard. But the bottom line is for us, health is our more priority, and the longevity and the wellness and the happiness of the cats. And I wish other breeders had that same mentality, but they don't.
That's a
And we
great
can do that with modern technology and molecular biology and what we know in sequencing, which we do. We sequence all our cats. We know the genetics really well. Jen, my wife, does, and so
uh
it's like
You
if you
do
know
like
that stuff, yes, you can do it. You can do breeding quite well. You can do a very side, but Hitler would be very proud of our
could
breeding
you do
programs.
this could you do like a hybrid of a cat and a dog then?
You cannot. I don't know that you cannot do that. I don't want to say you cannot. I don't think you could. I don't
I'm
believe you
thinking
can.
I'm thinking Island of Dr. Moreau, okay?
You in a tube, you could probably force that to happen outside of a home, but I'm not sure how you would bring the embryo to term. There's
Well,
lots of
right,
questions
people are
about how you do
breeding
that.
dachshunds and Great Danes. It's just not really in the cards, I think.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, it's within species, within genus, you probably can do that. But you're talking about with two different you're talking about with cats and dogs,
Yeah.
two different genera. So you're
Well,
way
I'm
genetically
thinking
far
like
apart.
Wagglers and, Tigons, from those big
Yeah.
cats. But, as far
Right.
as our domestic house cats go, I don't think you could breed
Yeah.
those with Waggers or Lions.
You cannot actually. That's been
No,
well established.
too
It's
far.
close. You can do some of the wild cats you can, like bobcats, and I can't remember. I gotta have my wife on the show if you can answer all these questions in
Yeah,
detail.
panthers. Panthers. I
We want
like
to actually,
cats, man. I just do.
yeah, we
I had
we
a
do
cat.
too. We've been wanting to
It's
adopt the big cats.
yeah,
There's a big need
Cassandras.
for it.
Mhm.
There's a big need because a lot of people adopt these big cats. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Well, most people that do.
That's bad.
And
I
so
mean,
they end up needing homes because they're completely screwed basically.
right.
And so there's a big need for it, but it's a big responsibility, and they're big cats,
When I
obviously.
was
So
a
there's a
kid
lot.
when I was a kid, there
There's
was
a
a
lot to
guy
do.
who owned a lion in Williamsburg. He used to take him to the
Yeah.
ice cream store and buy him ice cream. That's why I'd see him.
Yeah, lion's probably the worst choice actually if you're going to be buying a big cat.
I
It's just
know,
one of the worst.
right? I
It's really
mean,
bad. It's
not
wouldn't
really
want to do
great.
that, but yeah.
But
But your
I
pumas and your cheetahs are totally really quite nice, quite friendly if they're raised right.
well, cheetahs
Yeah.
also have really genetic difficulty because they're very closely related, right? There's not much genetic diversity in cheetahs, as I understand it. The
Yeah, you're
Washington
asking the wrong.
Zoo program, to try to breed them.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. They have that's one of the things they protect is cheetahs, and I think they have a ranch outside of, Northern Virginia somewhere where they do a lot of the breeding programs for the big cats as opposed
They,
to
they, they were.
right there at the zoo. Go ahead.
Yeah. Speaking of feline coronavirus, yeah, the big cats have been really hit hard by coronavirus too, by
Oh, that's
feline corona.
terrible. Yeah, I had no
Unfortunately,
idea. This is news to me.
yeah, they have been taking quite a hit in the wild, including in the wild, but especially in captivity. And part of it was human coronavirus, which they were partly susceptible to in some cases. And they also can carry and transmit to people, although people aren't really aware of that. But they definitely can be vectors that could definitely transmit it. But they usually don't get super sick or really all that sick from the human forms. Again, the feline coronavirus, they get very, very sick and die from in huge numbers. But
Okay.
we don't, fortunately, humans don't get sick from the feline coronavirus. At least healthy humans don't typically. get sick from the feline coronavirus. So it's interesting, and they're very closely related viruses, obviously, but there's
Very
very
interesting. And they both stem out of the same, you know,
yeah,
emergence of this virus that we don't really know its true origins yet.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Nor
yeah,
maybe we do.
right,
There's argument.
yeah. I mean, feline coronavirus has been known for way before human coronavirus came along.
Oh,
Way before
okay.
that.
Huh.
Yeah, been very well characterized because it's been a big problem in cats forever, and so
Hmm.
it's been well characterized for a long time. And
That's very
the human
interesting.
coronavirus, yeah, the human coronavirus thing is a new thing. And of course, I think at first there was a lot of speculation about that, but I think that because there is a lot of cat research done in the U.S. and there's not in the research laboratory setting, cats are not used in research anymore. So as animals, they typically it's rabbits and mice and guinea pigs, but cats are not used mostly. I don't know if it's illegal, but they're just not used. But in China and in the Eastern countries, the cats are still the primary primary lab animal model. So there was some speculation that there was some work. Of course, you can speculate out the wazoo about feline coronavirus work and working with humans in China and all this other stuff. So you can see where all these conspiracy theories might come from if you start putting things together in your head. But I would never do that. Anyhow,
Mm. No, I can imagine that it's a pretty inhumane process in many cases to treat
well,
animals.
it's especially in the U.S. There are very strict standards on how to deal with working with lab animals. There are very strict, and they try to be as humane as they can. But in the end, ultimately, you are sacrificing these animals. In basically every case. And so, they try to restrict it. And, there's a huge push right now to eliminate animal testing, which I think
Yes.
is a good idea in theory. But the problem is what they're proposing to replace it with is AI and computer modeling. But the modeling is not there. It's not even close to there. And it can't get there really anytime soon for the complex effects. But it's very simple stuff. Sure, yes, you can model that and with the most sophisticated AI. But getting rid of animal testing completely is going to end up in more humans dying in clinical trials, a lot more, basically. And so they're basically
Mm.
moving the animal testing to people, away from animals, which is one way to do it. If you want to kill more people, that's fine. And if that's an acceptable trade-off for you, then that's okay. But
That's
that's
an
basically
interest
what they've done here.
that's an interesting thought. I mean, are you saying the herd needs thinning? Is that where we're going?
Well, I'm not saying that I was not the one who proposed this. I'm saying the administration has proposed this, and
Yeah.
they're actually implementing it, where they're trying to ban animal testing. And I don't think they're doing it because they love animals or anything like that. I think there's other more, I don't say sinister. There's
Well,
more
let me
cynical
ask
reasons why they're doing
about AlphaFold. You're familiar with AlphaFold?
AlphaFold. That sounds familiar, but I don't.
It's the
Not sure.
Google project where they use to fold proteins and
Oh yeah,
such.
yeah, the protein folding software.
Computer
Yes, yes, yes,
modeling, they seem to have cracked, protein folding. Do you think that
yes. Yeah.
and that's pretty complex. So
It is, but it's nowhere near as complex as multi-organ system interactions with drugs and metabolites. You just cannot model that stuff at a level that is anywhere near realistic. And you're
yeah.
getting maybe one organ at a time, maybe one system at a time, and even that's a push. But to suggest you can do it in a whole entire a whole being for
Well,
offsite effects, of potentially any organ, it's just impossible. And I don't know that it'll ever be possible, no matter
possible
how much power
ever
you have.
or impossible now?
I'm thinking about impossible ever. It could be now, or in a very, very long time. And I know computing people say, well, computing power always gets, and it does, but the complexity you're talking about here is so high. And I know people have said this before and eaten their words about it, but in my mind, well, first of all, I can tell you this: we're nowhere near there now. Okay, how long it's
Yeah.
going to take to get there, I don't know, but it's not going to be
Well
anytime soon.
well, the exponential pace of change that we're noticing in the world would tell me that soon is a relative statement. I
It
mean,
is.
we
It
didn't
is.
expect that we'd be here in 2026, I think. I don't think we predicted being where we are with the kind of complexity we're tackling. For instance, AlphaFold. I don't know
Yeah.
what the projections were back 10 years ago about whether or not they'd be able to crack protein folding.
Oh no, they knew they could. That was already known. It was a matter. That was a matter. They could calculate that they could. They
They
could
did,
calculate that they could crack protein folding. Yes, and they did. And they knew. They estimated basically when it would be done.
and it
But
was done in
this
that timeframe. Okay.
I don't know if it was done on time or what the projections were,
Uh,
but it was sort of a known. Yeah, it was sort of a
it's
known
sort of
thing.
in
This is.
they were in the ballpark. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I think they were in the ballpark. This is not the same thing. This is way different than that. I mean, I don't even know how to put it in words. It's not the same
Well, that's
thing.
the thing, right? Until we
So,
can put it in
yeah,
words, we can't really do it.
right.
But when we can put
Yeah,
it into words, if we work on putting it into words, we'll get there faster, I think.
yeah. And
But I
I
don't
think
know.
the problem is though the AI, the technology people, and I don't discredit them for this. I think I would probably say the same thing. They're making the case that they can do this and they will be able to do this.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
saying they can do it now, but they are incorrect. They cannot do it now. They're not even close. And every time they say that, it ends up people are going to die because they're
Yeah.
saying that, basically,
That's kinda like
because
today
they're being.
about the stuff I heard my friend talk about, neural networks as though they are neural networks. They're not. But
Yeah, that drives me nuts, man, the neural network thing. But anyways,
I
I
don't know,
hate
you
that name. They got to get rid of that name.
yeah, exactly. The thing
They're
is
not neurons.
you oversimplify things or make
Yeah,
them seem like they're the same and they're not, and that
correct.
leads
And it's
to
now
people misunderstanding what they're actually dealing with,
correct.
and
And the thing is the irony is that analogy is meant to clarify, not confuse. And I got to get off here, Hal. I got to go back to
okay,
the
when
line.
I see you coming up to
Later.
the gate. But it's been
Yeah,
good
see ya.
talking. I'll stick on for a second or 2 to say that was the Everyday Junglist running up to the border of the United States and Mexico out of Tijuana. And if you're still with us, thank you for joining. We're going to wrap up this edition of the Passing Show. We're going to be doing an interview with Keith Guard later today. It'll take a while to get up because we're going to do it on Zoom. We're not doing it live. And yeah, be the change you want to see in the world, folks. And every cent spent is a vote for the kind of world we are co-creating. Invest wisely, be kind to each other, and yeah, keep on breathing. It's the secret to a long life. That's all I got today. And there's the end button in love.